I have a few more examples that were emailed into me concerning our topic, attachments, so thanks to everyone who submitted games. If I do not use your game, sorry. Thank you for submitting it anyway. I hope you continue to do so whenever we have a topic. I do want to go ahead and point out, in particular, one person, a Brave 16Q, submitted a game for this week. Considering that hundreds of people do watch these lectures either here or on YouTube, I think it's really nice that 16K decided to try and help out and submit a game. That was very nice of him. Or her, don't really know. Let's see, before we hop into the games, though, I think I want to go over a few examples of where we commonly see some attachment moves, just to get a little bit of an idea of how they're used before we see them in-game. I'm going to be using just very, very common examples we probably all know and have seen before, used in our games, etc., etc. To that end, let's go over a nice, easy situation here, revolving around the the high approach onto a 3/4 stone. One instance where we actually see an attachment move, which some people might consider a little bit unusual, is actually here. Now, we're going to see a few common similarities between this and our shoulder hit lecture that we went over last time. In both instances, we do not intend or have any hope whatsoever of actually trying to kill the stone that we are attaching to. We aren't actually, well, by that I mean we're not actually saying, okay, I'm going to attach to this, we're going to fight, and I'm going to, get this awesome right side for it and kill off this stone in the process. Not going to happen, because like shoulder hits, when you attach to your opponent's stone, unless they play away, chances are they're going to get stronger in that area. And here is an example of, yeah, you're probably hearing background noise. That is my happy computer. Is it really a little noisy? Oh, shoot. Arg. That is not good. 1 second. Let's see if I can't... Yeah, unfortunately there's not a whole lot I can do about that right now, because what you're actually hearing is my computer, which does not like that it is currently warmer than it used to be. I do not know how that's better. I did not do anything but stare at my computer. So it's kind of creepy that you say it's better. Anyway, moving on. Here is an example of where we actually commonly see one such attachment. In this instance, however, our stone is going to be killed, but black is going to be made stronger because of it. This is a nice, quick example of how we can use attachment moves to settle. Is black going to be made stronger in the area? Yes, of course. Let's throw a few more stones on the board. Let's say, I don't know, this, and that. Why not? And it's black's turn, so I guess he'll probably... No, it's white's turn, never mind. So here's an example of where we can see an attachment in a normal Jiseki, just going ahead and using it to settle. We actually see these in a few different Jiseki. Here... used to be one of the more common ones. There are a few other examples, in case you are completely unfamiliar with this one. For example, there is also, let's see, just to settle. Alright, let's go 4/4 here. You also see attachments in this particular Joseki. This is probably a bit more common. I maybe should have started off with it. In this case, once again, we have absolutely no hope of trying to kill off white stones. This group is pretty strong, as is right now. We can either settle in the corner with A, or back off to an extension. Just completely depends on how black wants to play. So attaching to a strong group in order to get something else is one good example of when we actually see an attachment move. And, you know, depending on no! There we go. Depending on what variation you decide to choose. Oops, shoot. Misclicking all over the place. Depending on what variation you decide to choose, obviously you're not going to see white dying off. White has the corner, also out, made fairly strong as a result. So this is another example of when we're clearly not going to expect to kill our opponent. We're just trying to get something else from our attachment. First case was a very clear example of settling. This one, development on the right side. Either case, we do understand that we are making our opponent stronger. And just because I'm on a Joseki kick, why not do one last one? We somewhat see, let's go here. Let's give a few corners. There we go, something similar. And not making much sense because white's move, let's say, goes over there. And we're pincered. Another quick example of where we can see attachments, again, for the similar purpose of to settle, not to attack, not to try to kill. But we can definitely see an attachment here under the 4-4. Again, nice strong group. Can quickly use it to try and settle ourselves, get a little bit of a base. So we aren't going to simply, write off our stone and get it killed. So those are three very, very quick examples of how we can use an attachment. Wanted to definitely point out, once again, not for trying to kill anything. We are attaching to our opponent's stone. It's going to make them stronger. So do not have that idea. It's very, very, very important that if you are attaching to something, you are not doing so because you think it's going to die. Probably not going to happen. That said, I do have 3 games I would like to go over that all feature attachment moves. I have removed the names of the people who submitted these games to protect their identities as they so wished. So I'm going to go and load up the first game now. You can all join me in that. Alright, let's save that. I've got a comment I probably should not look at. Let's see, upload to the Enclave, lectures. Here we go, my first attachment game. Alright, and if everything went according to plan, then there should be no names in this game. Doesn't look like it, doesn't look like it. Rules, nope, no names there. Just black's rank there is a 3Q. I do not know what white's rank, what white's rank was. Wow, I don't want to say that ever again. I think you had it turned off or something for this game. I only know that black was a 3Q, and we see a few interesting examples of, I'm not doing that again, no thank you. We see a few interesting examples of how these players use attachments. So, right away we see black establishing Kobayashi, which for those of you who don't know, is this formation here, centered around the 3-4 stone. You probably played it 100 times. Black makes what I typically regard as a mistake? Indeed. Broadwith immediately sees where our first attachment should occur. I think I have seen a couple of games where this pincer was played. I don't like seeing it played, though. I usually teach it as a mistake at first, until said person fully understands this variation, where you can immediately build up on the bottom. When we pincer, we run into difficulties, because if we actually play Jiseki after we attach, then what we're actually going to be expecting here is something along the lines of this, which does not use our two stones very effectively. We're kind of getting cut off here, where we had a nice chance to build this up. So, a bit unfortunate. White, on the other hand, does not attach. Maybe he doesn't know the sequence to follow up. Maybe he's never seen this before. Maybe he's a bit timid, who knows. But he plays a small knight. Unfortunate. Kind of gets pushed back into a normal variation, which I really, really, really wonder. I wish I could ask Black, did you do that because you were going a little bit easy on your opponent? Were you trying to push him back into a variation that he should have been in the first place? I mean, it's something that I would do if I was playing a teaching game. That's a little bit fast. I would normally just see a bamboo here, but whatever. Black comes out. Again, a nice opportunity here would be to attach to make shape. Very, very common. If white responds, or if black responds, it's only going to make us stronger. And while we're getting stronger, there's this hole which we're not forcing black to immediately cover. Instead, he extends out. Black obviously covers it, and then we kind of get into this weird sort of, we could get into this kind of weird sort of fight where black's jumping out, white's got a whole bunch of these groups now to look after. Not very good for white, which is why we typically don't do this. We do the attachment to settle, because we realize if we get into this variation, we are in so much trouble. But alright, jumping out, pincering, sure, makes sense. Ah, here we go. Finally, after all the jumps, we see an interesting attachment. This attachment says, my group is obviously in a lot of trouble, so I want to go and get shape, because I don't want to just keep running clear across the board, because you can see where that would go. I mean, let's say he didn't do that, and white just gets to, I don't know, let's cover a few of these holes up, and white just gets to be harassed indefinitely. I mean, giving your opponent influence over half the board at this point. I mean, we've passed the K10 line, haven't we? I mean, that's just way too much. You might as well just resign at that point. So instead, he says, okay, I'm going to make shape. I don't want to run all the way. Not a bad idea. A little bit late, like I mentioned. He should have done it before he even got out. But, you know, that's just a Jiseki mistake. I'm certain after this game he probably hated his result. He went back, looked it up, and now he probably will never do that again. So that's cool. Black, understandably, decides that's too small. I'm going to kill your stone. Okay. Usually when we respond to an attachment, or usually when we are attached, we want to respond, rather. Sorry, I'm completely tongue-tied today. That way, we have no hope, or no chance of our stone, you know, getting even further damaged and having our opponent get stronger as a result than perhaps they should have been. Nope, we just started. And even if you missed anything, all of this is going up on my YouTube later, so you can all catch it there if you wish. So, right, Black says that's too small, kills a stone, mild overconcentration, not a problem. There was another attachment here, wasn't there? Where are... Ooh, yeah, here we go. Again, we see similar example for the exact same reason. White has decided that he still needs shape, so we are attaching for it. Unfortunately, if that's how we were going to get shape, our first one doesn't make a whole lot of sense. So it seems that he's just being greedy here. This not really that great of an example of when to attach. I mean, let's say, for example, black responded to this, and he gets nice and strong. You know, what could we do there if we don't attach to those stones? Well, now that we're nice and strong, we might actually be able to harass with throw-ins and whatnot, and maybe even break in here if we don't get rid of that Aji. Unfortunately, I guess he's still not happy with his shape. Maybe he's worried about being cut. Either way, a little bit too passive. Black is very, very happy to get this one in, because he doesn't want to have to worry about the Aji coming back from his two space extensions, and now he doesn't have to. So this attachment, very late, but understandable. He's getting shape in the middle, so he doesn't have to continue fleeing across the board. Great, we're on that page. Good idea. Second one, not so much. You're getting rid of Aji. Yeah, you're getting some more shape, but if you really wanted more shape, you could have preserved that Aji by playing the Hane and getting further out into the middle, getting some more shape. That would be much better. Maybe even starting to eye, what is this stone, R10, for some follow-up later on. If I sound like I am on helium, that is because you are lagging. Sorry about that, blind god. I am not messing with you. I have thought about it. I have long thought about coming into a lecture with a voice changer and just trolling all of you. But to this day, I've avoided that. Alright, so we see a reasonable example of an attachment. We see a bit of a bad example of an attachment. Ooh, here we go. I think this is the last one that I wanted to go over in this game. Another example of a really nice attachment. Probably the one that we most commonly see. And that is, we have a framework on top of the board. We're looking to expand it. And one thing that we've probably taught since maybe 10, 8Q range, somewhere around there, is that when we see low stones, low being third line, second line, I guess, but let's not talk about them. But when we see those sorts of stones, one interesting thing about them is that we can keep them low, either with the shoulder hit that we saw in one of our last lectures, or as he chose in this one, the attachment. Why? Because your opponent's obviously going to respond. If we play elsewhere as black and give our opponent more moves here, then we're just going to get hurt. We might even be killed. That's not a good thing. Why wouldn't you E14? Ah! Nice question, nice question. This is Gote. This attachment, you know, is going to be Sente. You know he's going to respond to it. Now, we don't know if we're going to get Sente out of here. He might decide to Hane and then risk the Aji of that cut in order to reduce you? What am I saying? To reduce you. But that Aji is going to be left for later then. You have follow-ups there. That's good. Better than if you had just played that small knight. You might get Sente out of this, because it's completely plausible that your opponent's just going to back off as to not give you any more Sente there, because they know that you're leaning against them to get strong, and the last thing they want to do is make you stronger. So they might just back off, so you don't have any more forcing moves there. It gives you Sente, but you don't get a larger wall. Is the attach better than the D13 shoulder hit here? We don't usually see D13 shoulder, we usually see D12, though I take your example. Yeah. Difficult to decide. He does have the... He does have these stones already built up. I don't know. I think I kind of like the shoulder hit. I don't see black jumping out. I see him going into this variation. We might get Sente here. We're probably going to get Sente here. Yeah, I think the shoulder's probably better. Isn't there... Okay, yeah, that's true. If they're... Let's go back to that, too. That's a good idea. Okay, that's not it at all. That's not it at all, either. No. There we go. Yes, if they back off, there's still a little bit here, but I'm referring, when I said that they don't have any more Aji to make the wall larger, I mean, they're not going to be getting in, you know, this kind of a wall to really enlarge that influence. They're not going to be getting Sente moves to expand past it. Why can't black jump up? You can try that, and some aggressive players really do. But the minute you jump up, you know you're going to be sliced, which also means you know you can't live locally. And the question is, where are you going to get that second eye from? I mean, this is still fine. Black has just lost points. He's going to try to reduce you. White is gaining points because you can't even begin to hope that C11 is going to be saved. We're way too busy looking after these 3 stones to even think of that this one is going to come back to life. So the question now is, how are you going to settle this? I mean, if you just try running away, I don't know. That's tricky because you don't have anywhere really good to run to. And black, for example, or white, for example, can build up on the left while they're just, you know, kind of following your group around. Well, you can push into the corner, but B17 is not going to make you live locally. Does that open up H16, though? If you jump up, usually your opponent's going to peep here in order to protect against deep invasions like that. Because now if, again, black wants to live, this is 2 weak groups that are no good. Okay, we're getting more questions. B13 first. What's B13? B13 is that. Okay, let's get rid of Sente. B13, let's say that's Sente 2, why not? And then I guess we're going to go into this in the hopes that we can live. But you can probably see that that's not quite enough room there, right? I mean, you're making this kind of shape. Right now, B13 might not actually be Sente because because white's already responded to it. And one thing that you wouldn't do is create another weak group that has to try to live. This is what white wants you to do. Whenever you've got 2 groups that are struggling to live in the same area, one of them is going to not always die, but you might wish that they had been killed. But yeah, the attachment is obviously a much safer alternative to this because this does allow black to come out and fight. It's very risky, but some players will do it. Here, it's just like, what are you going to do? You're either going to Hane or you're going to extend. There's really not many options. Not going to go into the game that much. Oh, there was one other attachment example I wanted to go into. This one. Very, very briefly, not going to comment on if it's a good idea or not, but you can see what he's trying to do. He knows that he needs to use Aji when he wants to invade, so he's going for forcing moves. So he's playing there, threatening to link up. He's playing here, because again, his opponent can't ignore, otherwise he's going to get a lot of strength and live, so he's got to respond. And from that, he's hoping that life will ensue. His opponent does back off a bit too much, but that's a different topic altogether. The rest of this I'm not really interested in. All I was really interested in this game was the examples that we saw here as to why he attached. and the importance of that. I was interested in here, how it's a bad example of an attachment at the moment. And last but not least, this one where he extends. So that being said, I do have two other games that I'd like to go over that also feature interesting attachments. The next one actually is a 7-dan game that someone sent in. So this one's going to be a little bit more interesting, maybe a bit harder to follow and for various reasons, a bit higher level play. But we do see attachments used that I found to be rather interesting. So I'm going to go ahead and throw that one on up. And into the enclave again. Oh my god. I didn't just do that. Wow. You just saw names that you probably shouldn't have. Oh dear. Well, that's not good. Huh. Don't go back and stare at the screen, those of you who watch this later. You weren't supposed to see the screen. That potentially had the players' names. That was bad. That was very bad. Yeah. I really need... Okay, next time I do this, I'll just make that window disappear while I'm loading it up. Oh well. Canadian time works in a very derpy fashion, in that you've got X amount of minutes to play 25 stones. So the math begins to hurt your head, because it's not like you have 30 seconds per move. You're going to have an average of, let's say, less, unless you're playing an enormous time setting. However, people don't usually play enormous time settings. They usually play smaller time settings. So even like a 1/5 or 6 tends to be blitz, because you're averaging, I think, under 20 seconds a move. But you do have longer to think of one move, so I guess it's the idea that you can use all of the time on a critical move, but then you're not going to have time on other moves down the line. It's just stupid. I hate it. I don't use that time setting anymore. I think it's kind of ridiculous, because it kind of puts more emphasis on time management and not the game. I just want like a certain amount of seconds per move. I'll be happy. I don't know. They're both pretty up there in my do not like list. Anyway, so we have a 7-dan versus 6-dan. This game's a little bit reasonable. I'm not going to really critique their play. Yeah, Black played a slow move. We could get into the reasons of why, but that's kind of boring. What's interesting, though, is White attachment here. Whereas Black is playing a little bit slow in the bottom right-hand corner, White is going to answer that by playing extremely fast. Now, again, is he trying to kill the corner? Of course he is not. All he's trying to do is develop as fast as he can. His idea here, Black's going to get a strong corner, but he had an enclosure, so he was already going to get in a strong corner. And in exchange, he'll be able to get a little bit more on the outside for himself than if he had simply taken a 2-space extension. Is White's Fiseki a variation of the orthodox? Well, in the sense that he enclosed, but you didn't know what to do. Okay, I'll mention this briefly. Well, if you've enclosed and your opponent blocks your enclosure, the next thing you probably want to do is make certain that he can't get another enclosure from its extension, so which is why he approached here. It would be more common for white to play either A or B respectfully. That would be a little bit more common, make certain that black can't develop. But, oh well. So black responds, he gets slightly stronger corner. As we see now, he's kind of pushed on out to the fourth line, which is not too bad. He solidified his corner, made so there's no more Aji, because back here there is still Aji, there's still attachments underneath. Maybe we could even, if we get completely surrounded, maybe we can even throw a stone back there later on. All of that's completely gone because that corner is now nice and strong, as expected. And in exchange, we're getting a little bit more than that 2-space extension. So that's good. How does the clamp work? What? You mean in response here? Oh. Yeah, you mean here. Well, you just created an enormous amount of Aji for yourself. And that's typically not a good thing. Because now we have to get into happy reading. For example, is this going to work? If we throw in, are you going to Atari? If so, have you just given up a stone? And if so, for what reason? You get a stronger corner, but if you're giving up stones, there's a better variation for that. If you're not going to do that and say, I'm going to remain connected, how well are you going to remain connected? Because you can't connect this up. And if you can't connect that up, that's pretty good for white. You've just been sliced in half. So not such a good idea. Usually if we're going to see anything, it's this. We see a pincer. And at that point... Actually, no. We usually see that. Not that. Ignore that. There we go. We usually see something like this. And then maybe it'll force black to respond and you'll be able to kill this, potentially. But, again, kind of weird to fight here over that. Instead, black simply made himself nice and strong. White defends. Sure, why not? Could have taken an open, the top side, but who cares? Not getting into that, 'cause that's not an attachment. This, on the other hand, is an attachment. Is it Joseki? Obviously. Why is black playing it, though? Well, we've seen a few different reasons as to why we can do it. We can use it to develop, as we see here. And as we saw once in the previous game, we've seen that it can be used to settle, as I showed in the Joseki, that I went over in the beginning of this. In this case, it's just being used to settle. Isn't that for when B is under a lot of pressure? What? Settling? It can be used to settle when you are in a lot of pressure, yes. It can be used when you're in a lot of pressure, yes, or it can just be used to get a rather even result for yourself. I mean, like I showed in that first Joseki, I mean, white wasn't in a lot of pressure. There was other options available to him, but he just wants to go ahead and not have to worry about this group. He just wants to settle, which is completely fine. He's getting a group that doesn't have to worry about anymore. Black's getting a little bit of influence. White's probably getting Sente here, which he can use either, somewhere else on the board, or he can further use it to solidify himself and force black to make certain that he's taking his extension. That's fine too. Let's see, where was I in the game? Here we go. So here, black is being pincered. Does he have options available to him? Yes. Can he jump out? Sure. Can he change directions? Of course. He can do a lot with this stone. He chooses to just go ahead and settle for territory. Get into a little bit of a fight here. Just fairly normal for this variation. And we have basic exchange. White's getting some territory, black's getting some influence. And since white's stone is now too close to the wall, backs off, makes certain that his stone's going to be safe. Pretty reasonable. This attachment is also very interesting, because I was hoping that we would see some more with invasions. We saw one briefly, what was it, at the end of our last game. We saw someone try to attach in order to reduce. Here we're seeing the exact, well, not the exact same thing, but similar. Similar in that white is not trying to play moves in Gote with his reduction. He's trying to ensure that his opponent does have to respond to everything that he's doing. I mean, he could, for example, let's say, go back. He could, for example, go and play this, but what's wrong with this move? What is different about this move compared to the attachment that he just played? What are the differences there? Anyone know? What are the differences? Harder to get out, white not getting strong fast enough. Yeah, it could be harder to get out. Essentially here, our opponent can immediately begin attacking us. That might be uncomfortable. Let's say he doesn't even try to keep us in. Let's just assume that he plays defensively, ensures that we can't get a base here or do anything or live locally, we just have to run. Okay, we have to run. But the question then becomes, where is this stone going to connect up to? Is it going to just connect up to the right? Because our opponent's going to get stronger regardless of how we responds. His weaker groups are, going to be helped by this, while all we're doing is just kind of running away and hoping we don't actually keep getting attacked. And I guess we can connect up this way, but black is really, really strong now, so he can just keep invading. And at this point, we don't like the game anymore for white, because too many of his groups are suddenly having to live locally. He's not really getting a lot of territory. Black's now nice and strong and attacking everywhere. So that's not very good for us. Instead, he wants to try and attach here. If this stone gets a lot stronger, these two stones, on the other hand, suddenly are the ones in trouble. They're the ones that are going to have to look after themselves instead of this weird white group running across the board that has to look after itself. So it's a really, really big difference right there. Questions apparently, instead of a jump H3, instead of a jump, in order to defend, I see what you're saying. I like the jump better, when in this variation. It keeps on pressure and it strengthens us. I think H3, wait, what? Okay, I see what you're saying. Instead of this, go here and really make things complicated. Could do that here, yeah. Your stone's going to get killed, this one's going to try to kill, and I guess this stone's probably going to come out immediately. In which case, we're going to have a completely different fight on our hands. But instead of that, white attaches again to the strong group. We saw in the upper right, this enclosure was nice and strong when he attached. Didn't make it a whole lot stronger. Got rid of a little bit of Aji. But in exchange for getting rid of a little bit of Aji, he does have a fair amount of potential there on the right-hand side. So here, once again, he's attaching to this nice strong group. It might be made a little bit stronger, but if he gets stronger as well, then he's going to be happy. And he's going to be reducing at the same time. Instead he attacks. White gets out. Immediately black has to be careful because he does still have H3 lingering. Black, I guess he's going for shape. A little bit strange though. But you can see that white manages to get out. And you can still drop down, and so that this is never going to connect up. So he does get the variation. Does he need shape there? He doesn't need shape, but he doesn't want to not be connected. I mean, if we take these stones away and put, let's say, one more on the board for white, then this is now an area that he has to reduce. He was not only reduced on the bottom, but now that middle is really growing for white, he's going to have to do something about that. So rather than have to worry about that, he wanted to keep his connection to the outside. Here doesn't really count. I mean, this is just cutting through a small knife. I'm not really going to go over this. I think that might be one of the last ones. Again, small attachment. He's looking to make shape for himself in a way that's going to be sensei. And white is obviously going to respond to that, or lose a stone. Is there anything else here I wanted to go over in terms of the attachments? I don't think so. A few of these I don't want to go over. The reasons aren't what I'm really looking for. Yeah, I don't think there were any others here. No, there weren't. Did anyone have any questions about what I've gone over so far before I go over into a new game? Because we've seen a contact move gives white strongest and invade. Well, it did there because he'd be jumping into a pincer otherwise, and he'd be immediately counterattacked. Maybe at the end of this. Right now I'm more interested in questions on what I've already gone over than going over something new. If there are no questions, then so far we have seen attachments for a variety of different reasons. We've seen them to settle. We've seen them to enlarge something. Oh, question. I was wondering why they would go to F3. I always thought 3 space extension is too unsafe. No way. No, F3 is very common actually. Huh. I can see where that idea comes from. I mean, there's a 3 space extension there. You're probably thinking, okay, if white attacks me there, what am I going to do? Yeah. I mean, you're probably just wanting to play a move here for just territory, to expand what you have in the bottom right-hand corner, I guess, if you were black in this case. And leaving this weakness behind, it's a little bit weird, I suppose, because you know that that might not happen. You might, they might come in and reduce that. But you've got a weak group the minute they do that, right? And one thing that stronger players will really, really like to do is invite weak groups to be created. Because while this group is looking to figure out how it's going to live, then, well, just real quickly, if A gets stronger, that's not A, Come on, there we go. If A gets stronger, for example, then this area over here can be easily invaded, because we'll have somewhere to connect up to. Depending on how this group tries to connect, if it tries to connect under your stone, for example, after you jump out, you're going to get more influence and you can invade the left. If it's just jumping across the board, then again, that's going to be really, really easy to further invade the left-hand side. I mean, white's got to really, really be careful. Which is why sometimes we don't actually see that. Instead of the invasion, we see something like this, for example, trying to push black into spending that extra move to defend himself. That way he's not going to be reduced on the left-hand side. Similar to this, it really just depends on how you want to handle it. Wait, would f4 be better for black? Why would you play f4? That one I don't like so much, because now it looks like you are really, really invading this, because not only do I have an easy way to connect underneath, but I can still run out. That looks kind of strange. I don't know. That seems kind of bad to me right now. But, alright, I have another 7-down game that I want to go over, which we see another example, different one that I was really, really, really hoping that we would have at least one game sent in showing this example of when to play an attachment move. It's one of my favorite uses of it. So I'm really, really glad that the person who sent in these games sent in this particular one, and I hope you guys will enjoy it. I will load it up now. Let's see. Be right back. I'm black screening you, even though there's really no point at this point. You've already seen it. Load SGF to the enclave. And we're back. Alright, so last example, 7-down versus 7-down game this time, with a really, really great example of how you can actually use an attachment. And then after this, I might have one more example, since we haven't really seen it yet. But we have a pretty standard... Oh, okay, we're not having a standard opening. I forgot. It's this game. I'm not going over this, so don't ask me to. Not doing it. Not doing it. Suffice it to say, this game is weird, and these attachment moves, not what I'm looking to go over with. Not what I'm looking to go over with at all. Suffice it to say, I do like this attachment. This attachment is okay. You're in a ko. You know that if you just play something that's not severe, it's going to be ignored. So if you really, really want to play it, you need something severe, you attach, they have to respond. Alright, makes sense. Did I? Oh no. I thought I got rid of that before the game. Oh no. Uh-oh. Well, I've already ruined their names on my stream, so I'm not really caring if I left their names in too for this one. Suffice to say, the attachment I'm looking for... C6 interest? Yeah, I agree too. I completely agree with that, yeah. That attachment I would never respond to as white. I would just take... Because the best they're going to do is Atari here, or is a Hane there, and a Hane this. They get to extend, I get to extend. But whatever. As you can see, it's kind of this weird 10-second blitz game with 59 Byoyomi periods. It's bizarre. We have a weak group, sure, why not? Black's just trying to settle everywhere. White's developing. Here, this is what spawns it. This is the example I wanted to go over. Black settling. Again, we see the attachment to be made stronger. He doesn't really expect to be able to kill. He's just trying to settle his group. It's going to make Black stronger, but, not dying here, or not being surrounded, much, much better. Yeah, Black's crazy, and they're all both crazy. It's 10 seconds ago. You can't really judge them for that, though. There it is. That's the move that made me actually select this game. I was going to completely delete it from the person who submitted it, but this game is interesting because this is the only example that I was sent that even tries to touch on this topic. And I don't know if he completely misread this or if he forgot that something was dead, but if this stone, for example, was connected up, then this would be a really, really great way to attack a weak group. That's something that we also see a lot, and is a good example of how we can use an attachment. Is we can attach to somewhere a weak group has to connect up to get there first, make ourselves stronger in that area, ensuring they cannot connect there. Because if we were just to, again, let's say that this group is cut off, if we were to simply go away, if we were to simply try and cut it off this way and we ran it up this way, the group is going to obviously be out and fine. But if this group was weak and we can just attach to where it's trying to go, either with an attachment or even a shoulder hit, you can use shoulder hits for that example as well, it's still a very good idea, then that is an excellent use of how to use shoulder hits and attachments aggressively. Not just to expand a framework like we saw, or to settle a group, but to aggressively attack a group. I really like seeing those. If this was cut off, then yeah, any attachment or shoulder hit would have to be ignored in order to save this group. Unfortunately, the black stones are not connected, they're dead. So that makes this really, really unusual. Again, the only other use that I could find is if this stone didn't exist, and maybe white extended this way, we might be able to build up the top, I guess, using that starting attachment. But since white's got that turn, we can't really use that either. So this is just a really, really strange attachment instead. It's a bit unfortunate. Sabaki for invasion? Not certain what you're referring to there, Calm. What are we invading? Oh, white crosscut? C122 area. C11 area. Oh, so black crosscut, you mean? I don't even want to contemplate a board with 122 lines on it, thanks. This might work, I suppose, if that was the goal. Kinda, anyway. You might get something here. It is, again, going to make your opponent very, very strong. You're not going to kill off anything. But maybe you can, squeeze out a few extra points for yourself, I guess, maybe? Nah, even 23s I don't really like. But yeah, that example I really did want to go ahead and show. Because it's the closest thing that I have in the game sent to me that actually showed an example of how you can use an attachment move to really attack a group. Because yeah, if those 3 stones weren't going to be dead, that would be great. This would be a completely brilliant move on black's part. Unfortunately it's not, but it allows me to give an example of how it could have been much better. And I think you all can see that. 1 second. Alright, that said. Yeah, well, it's a 10-second game, so you really can't judge, exactly what's going on, because you can see that they started off with 50 Byoyomi periods or whatever, or what, 59? Wait, they started off with 60, and they've, used 10 of those. So, you don't really think that they're using a whole lot of time on this. It could very well be easy that he might have actually forgotten about it. Who knows? Maybe he thought he could pull off a Sekyu there or something. I don't know. Who knows? Who knows? Who knows? Is there anything else I wanted to cover in attachments? There's a few other things. I think to actually get the other ideas that I want, I'm going to have to use my own examples, though. I might pull professional games from my own little Go archive to illustrate those a bit more. I might do that for the next lecture. I think next lecture I'm not going to have a topic that I want people to send in games for. I'm just going to go ahead and pull a couple of professional games and instead use some professional examples that illustrate some of the, let's say, the shoulder hits that we saw, the attachments that we're seeing today, and maybe a next topic that I don't really know what to have it on. I think this topic might have been a little bit too complicated, though again, thank you all very much for those of you who have sent in a game for this one. A lot of them I couldn't use, unfortunately, for various reasons. Not quite what I was looking for. That's probably my fault. It's kind of a complicated topic. Not really certain what to have next one, though. Element C, I just showed up, but I'm pretty sure I disagree with whatever you just said. What did I just say? Oh, yes, the lecture, we've got quite a number of lectures available to us now. There are quite a number of people who were kind enough to donate to them. I will be updating that after I'm done with this. But yeah, do you guys actually, since I actually have you all here, do you guys actually have a topic that you would like to see? So there are a few really, I don't want to say generic ones that I want to see, that I could use. I mean, I could just go and have you guys send in games on something very, very easy, like the Chinese Fuseki, or, the Kobayashi, or no, not sanrensei. Why do those words even come out of my mouth? I'm never having you send it to, no. Oh, that would be fun. I might have a lecture series on how to dismantle the sanrensei, how to play against it. And I might have you guys send in games where, you guys were able to nicely take that apart. Oh, that would be fun. That would be a fun lecture. That would be a fun lecture. Alright, I think I actually am going to do that. That one really appeals to me. So next lecture, I think I'm going to actually have, depending on how many submissions I get, it's either going to be on how to play against the sanrensei, or I'm going to pick a professional game, again, depending on how many games I'm sent in. And you, of course, can send in this to my internet email at akari@zoominternet.net. You can email the games there. I will take out your name, so no one has to know who you are or where you played it, etc., etc. But we will be having another lecture week after next, so it gives you plenty of time to try and find someone to play the sanrensei against you, and then we'll be going over that. So you're all welcome to throw your games my way. Endgame lecture after that? Sometimes people really do ask me for lectures on Endgame, but I don't think anyone would remain awake for that. It would be kind of getting into counting, and I don't know, I might. I don't know if there are shaped lectures on YouTube. I know Dasan used to have a shaped lecture that was available on KGS Plus. But Dasan, unfortunately, is very busy at the moment. Am I doing more KGS series anytime soon? Next game is actually going to be an IGS series. I want to get into that one a little bit because I noticed that there is a new client on IGS that they're beta testing, and I thought I would go ahead and review that while playing another IGS game. After that, I'm going back to Taigem. I do not know if that will be co-commentated or not, but I do intend to play... Where did I leave off? 4 Dons? 5 Dons? I don't know. I'll pick up wherever I left off in that series. I completely forgot. I'm not at 6 Don yet. You were doing 4... Okay, so I need to do the 4 Dons and get to 5 Dons, I think. That's not just a thing with Taigem, though. Be careful. Any Asian server you sign on, the lowest ranks are going to have some of the strongest players. It's like that everywhere. People just like slumming it, I guess. I really don't know. I don't know what it is, but they really, really enjoy it. I mean, you find that on Taigem, a few other Asian servers that I used to be on. Those of you who played StarCraft never play on the Korean server. You'll find the exact same thing. It's just one of those weird things. Oh, you did not just ask if Koreans play StarCraft. Of course, they're like pros. Oh, okay. But yes, thank you all for showing up to today's lecture. Thanks even more to those of you who have emailed games in for this lecture. If I did not use yours, I'm terribly sorry about that. But thank you for sending them in anyway. Always appreciated. Thanks to those who donated. Also, very, very much appreciated about that. Hope I see you all for next lecture, which will be having a week after next, on hopefully how to take apart the sanrensei.